Alrighty, so I went through and made sure all of these holes have appropriate drilled out pieces. Built the struts, they're just brass with the paper around them. I cut my slots, I add my piece of balsa, glue it in with super glue. Here I am putting it in and works quite well. Everything turned out pretty dang clean on this. Making sure it's in there, and I'm test fitting because you got to make sure everything sort of slides together, but you got to make sure everything's lined up, like the wing is not up higher or lower or whatever, and make sure the leading edges are in line. So you play around with that till you get it right. Seems pretty good. And any kind of gap I will fill with a thin piece of paper. So I made all these struts, and what I found is basically to glue them in with super glue. And what I'm doing here is on the lower part of the top wing, put the other one on, and sort of get them sort of straight and square just by eye. You can move them around enough to put them in, but this way they're on, and then they're sort of suspended, and then it's just a matter of you taking your big mitts and sort of just kind of putting them in place. So what I do first to make sure they're lined up. What if the struts aren't lined up? Like when you look through the front, they're all crooked, which is what happened in some previous models that I had to do. I had to make new holes. So I'm test fitting again, but this time I put the struts into the holes, just physically put them in and make sure they fit and they go down where they're supposed to. I'm putting a little pressure on there. And then what I did was look at this from the front and the side, make sure things aren't horrible, and they were good, so I undid it. So then the next panicky thing you do is commit the glue. And this I used again thick super glue. And it's kind of terrifying just because, again, if you don't get these in and get them in correctly, I guess you just cut it out and start over, but it would be a bummer. So put some glue along here, along the tab to give me strength, and along the edge, and then I go ahead and slide this in just like I did with the test fitting. And I put it in until it's butted up in there nicely. That looks good. And remember, the bottom wing has a little dihedral in it, so it should hold things in the right place. Then take a little bit of glue. I put a little bit of super glue on there. Put it in the holes or on the little piece of wire hanging out. And then go ahead and just very carefully put them back in. And as long as they're in and they dry, you see I'm just using both hands to go in there carefully. Everything should be okay. Make sure it's flush. Make sure it's straight again, although you've already tested that. Once they're in, a little shot of zip kicker both on the front and the rear. So I didn't show putting the rear strut in, but it's the same thing. It's very hard to demonstrate this because the wing is so big and there's not much room to look at things. But there it is. So this is actually pretty straight. It looks good. The stagger still looks good. It's strong. And I got both ends on. And lo and behold, there's the top wing on. I mean, that's a huge hurdle to get finished. I was quite impressed with that. So the next thing to do is put in the other inner planes and then rig it, which was not difficult at all. So this looks really good. I kind of can't believe it's as nice as it is. So here it is. Just to give you one last look, the whole thing together. Looks nice. Just with, again, all it needs is those other struts. Now, one thing I did wrong was I let it now sit out in the garage for a week while I visited my mom. When I came back, the wings are actually drooping a little bit. They're not drooping, they're about just a smidgen of dihedral, basically. It's very little or almost flat. And I'm going to live with it or I'm going to try to fix it. I'm not sure yet, but I should have rigged it before I left because I think if I rigged it, it would probably have stayed in trim. It doesn't look terrible, but that's a mistake I think I made. I didn't know it would happen, but I guess the wings are just heavy enough, and that moment out to the aileron tip is quite a distance, and so that amount of weight sitting out in the garage in the damp Tacoma area is enough to probably make them droop slightly. But still not bad. Here she is with the other struts in and completely rigged. So everything's rigged except for the aileron control cables, and that's about it. It looks really cool. I really think it's cool looking. The struts all come in straight. They all were very easy to put in. The rigging was wonderful. I'll demonstrate rigging because people have asked to demonstrate that again. I'll demonstrate it when I rig the aileron control cables because it's basically all the same. But here it is, looking good. I'm very pleased with it. And my wife was knitting over there, and she even thinks it's kind of cool, which is nice when someone actually likes what you've done. See, she smiles. So anyway, I'm pleased. On to the landing gear.